Hello and welcome back to another GiantSlayerTV Top 10 video. Today we'll be taking a look at the top 10 Prismatic Augments for patch 11.23. Prismatic Augments are the highest tier of augments and as such are generally the most powerful. These are the game changers. That said, you won't be given the option of prismatic options every game, nor will they be the same three. Because of that, this top 10 is more about what's generally the strongest option when presented, but keep in mind, every game and situation is different. Take that into account before making a decision because sometimes the strongest is not the best option. With all that said, let's go ahead and get started. But before we begin, please don't forget to click the links in our description. Give your support to everyone who helped make this video happen. We host many TFT tournaments with plenty of exciting content to come. Be sure to also follow our GiantSlayerTV social media pages. Alright, let's get back to the video. Starting off for the number 10 spot, we're lumping in all of the soul augments together because while some of them may be better than others, all of them can be useful depending on the situation. Of course, there is a power ranking between the different soul augments because some, like the mercenary soul, are going to be better than niche ones like the scrap soul. But every game is different, so there's very likely a situation that will happen where one player needs the scrap soul augment. It just depends on the state of the game. The issue with soul augments, as well as the heart and emblem augments, is that they are a bit too specific. Especially early on when players have no direction for their comp, committing to any specific trait can backfire heavily. This can be a big old sign to the other players about which composition you're likely going to be playing. So when is the best time to pick up a soul augment? Basically when it fits with the theme of your comp. For example, if it's stage 3-3 and you're given the option of a socialite soul and you know where the hex is, then picking up that augment can be quite useful. You'll be able to hit 3 socialite with just 1 unit and gain the triple buff for your carry. That's an extremely specific scenario, but that's the mindset players need to have in regards to soul augments. That said, souls are rarely going to be the best option because the prismatic tier is full of really good augments. What earns them a spot in the top 10 is how situationally useful they can be, even though on average they aren't going to be used that often. A recommendation when presented with a soul augment is to determine what the value it will bring to you in the future. On 1-4, it's unlikely you'll get a lot of value from that augment with a few exceptions like mercenary, so it's rarely the best choice. On 4-6, it's much more likely you'll gain an advantage from having +2 of a synergy, so it makes more sense to pick up even if it's against stronger augments. Certainly not the best all-around prismatic augment, but one of the most flexible. Let's move on to the number 9 prismatic augment, Celestial Blessing 3. Celestial Blessing is, well, a bit boring. All it does is provide healing to your units, and that's it, plus a shield if they overheal. Not particularly exciting, but it is one of the strongest passive buffs available because a 20% heal from both attacks and abilities is a lot of sustain for any comp. Of course, this augment is not going to win a head-to-head against a lot of other prismatic augments because quite a few of them are far more impactful at various stages of the game. But Celestial Blessing is more appealing in most scenarios compared to a lackluster option like a soul augment your board doesn't need, or a minor buff to your units like makeshift armor. Why we give Celestial our blessing over the other similar augments is the fact that it will do well in any composition, whereas a lot of other options for passive buffs aren't always going to be applicable to your current board. Preferably, you want to have Celestial for either the silver or gold augments, but as we keep saying, it highly depends on where you're at in the game and what other augment choices you've been presented with. Up next, we have Portable Forge coming in at number 8. Portable Forge gives players an additional choice of 3 Ornn artifacts to choose from. 3 artifacts are also random, and that's really what holds this augment back because unfortunately not all the artifacts are created equal. They did just buff quite a few of the artifacts, so the gap is closing, but a lot of the time an item like the Collector is almost always going to be better than an item like Rocket Propelled Fist. Granted, it is situational, but the power discrepancy is quite apparent for Portable Forge. But despite the wide variety in options, the fact you gain a relatively powerful item is what makes this augment a worthwhile consideration. Unlike the 2 previous augments we mentioned, Portable Forge is the first one on the list that can be a literal game changer. And they can continually tweak the balance of the artifacts so that eventually there's always a powerful option when picking the Portable Forge. As we said though, Portable Forge does come with a risk. The artifact may not be that useful for your team, or maybe the 3 items are on the weaker side of the current patch. There's a lot of variance already in augments, and Portable Forge adds an extra layer on top of that. Still, the fact that you're given an item stronger than normal makes Portable Forge a top tier option in a lot of situations. Continuing down the list, we have Level Up coming in at number 7. Level Up was an extremely powerful augment, and it was rightfully nerfed from providing 4 bonus experience to 3. 3 is still a lot, but it's not as insanely snowbally as 4 was. We may be rating it a bit low because of how ridiculously it used to be compared to now, but the point is, level up is good. The main reason as to why, which should be obvious, is how gold efficient it is. Gaining a bonus of 3 when leveling is absurdly efficient as it accelerates your board state quite rapidly. A player can go from level 6 to level 8 in one stage while keeping a decent economy. In general, this will be more impactful early on in the game where pushing levels is a huge advantage, but the faster rate of leveling does apply at all stages of the game. At least until you hit the level cap, which, by the way, is level 10 with level up. It's worth noting that this augment may not be that great on 4-6 because most players are either level 8 or heading towards level 8 by then. Yes, hitting level 9 faster is of course a boon, as well as being able to hit level 10, but other augments may provide more immediate bonuses. But as far as stage 1-4 or 3-3 is concerned, level up is easily one of the best prismatic augments. Item Grab Bag 2 is up next as the number 6 prismatic augment. Item grab is a bit boring, sure, but gaining 2 completed items is insanely good. Not only is it 2 full items, but you also gain 2 reforgers, so if the 2 items aren't great, or if you have 2 other meh items, you can reforge them easy peasy. The benefit of this augment is that you can take it at any stage of the game, as it will always provide a similar amount of value. 2 completed items is never something to scoff at, though having it earlier on in the game does provide a slightly larger power spike than later. We admit it's not that interesting of a choice, but items are an essential part of the game, so anytime you can have more of them, the better. Coming in at number 5, we have Built Different 3. Built Different is, as the name suggests, built differently. The augment will provide a massive boost in stats to your board as long as those units have no active synergies. Much like Celestial Blessing, this augment can be just fine in the lower tiers, but is definitely at its strongest form in a prismatic augment. 500 health and 70% attack speed to every unit is far more powerful than any trait during the early stages of the game. The big but of this augment is that it will fall off later on in the game, so it's primarily best on stage 1-4. It's still decent on 3-3 because the stats it provides are bonkers, but if you really want to make the most of it, try and only play it when it's the first augment you can pick up. We guarantee any player that has this augment can and should win streak their way through stage 2 and probably stage 3. After that, it's generally the time to transition out of it, though there are compositions that are entirely built differently. Let's continue on with the number 4 prismatic augment, High Roller. High Roller is the choice for high rollers because loaded dice are a favorite for anyone willing to gamble and roll the dice. The fact it's 3 loaded dice is kind of insane because it basically guarantees you hit exactly what you want. Sure, it's not a 100% chance to, but when utilizing loaded dice on the correct unit to find what you need, you're almost always going to hit. And loaded dice are quite versatile when you have 3 of them. Early game, you can get a fast 3-star 1 cost, mid game, instant 2-star carry, late game, 3-star that Yone. There are a ton of situations where High Roller can completely flip the game, but it is high in variance, so we recommend looking up how to best utilize the dice because you don't want to accidentally use it on the wrong unit. Next up, we have Golden Ticket coming in at number 3. Golden Ticket is a lot of fun because rolling is fun, and sometimes this augment will proc multiple times in a row, and suddenly you've rolled 20 gold without spending any of it. And that's precisely what makes this augment so good, as rolling now becomes gold efficient. This is particularly useful early on in the game, since Golden Ticket can also occur at the beginning of every round when the shop refreshes, so sometimes a player will get multiple rolls without investing any gold. That leads to hitting more 2-star units than other players or finding higher cost units. It also saves gold when rolling later on, so stabilizing the board is a lot more efficient. The downside is, of course, RNG. Sometimes having the Golden Ticket won't pay off if you're simply being unlucky. But on average, it's a worthwhile augment to pick up because it can lead to a lot of free rolls, which save a lot of gold. Coming in at number 2 is New Recruit. A free Tactician's Crown? Yes, please. Of course, it is quite boring compared to most augments, but as it turns out, the best option is not always the most interesting. In almost every scenario, this augment is the best option because increasing your board size by 1 opens up a lot of possibilities, especially when you won't have to commit any components to it. Honestly, this augment speaks for itself, so if you want to gain an immediate advantage, we recommend this augment highly. And finally, coming in at number 1 is Windfall. Surely this is not a surprise, as Windfall is absolutely broken. And that's not speaking in absolutes, it's just the truth. Imagine it's round 1-4 and suddenly you have 20 extra gold. Would anyone not want that? Doubtful. Even on 3-3, having 25 extra gold is crazy good, and while there may be more useful options on 4-6, having a massive injection of gold can turn a low roll game around or help boost your board to the next level much faster than planned. Basically, gold is good. Gold is useful. Gold is gold. Windfall is never going to be a bad option because it's just straight value. Alright, that's it for our top 10 prismatic augments for patch 11.23. But before we go, we've got a few honorable mentions to talk about. Specifically, we want to talk about the buff type augments. Those are Featherweight, Stand United, Knife's Edge, Exiles, and Makeshift Armor. These are augments available at every tier and provide various bonus stats to your units. They are always viable options, much like Celestial Blessing, but they aren't always that great because they are rather niche. Not every board gets a lot of value from these augments, so it's highly situational. That's why Celestial Blessings is in the top 10, as it can be applicable to any board. Build Different can also be a bit niche, but it's so powerful it outperforms these augments by a lot. Still, the fact is these passive buffs can be impactful depending on the situation, so we didn't want to end without highlighting their usefulness. No, they won't be the best option for most games, but sometimes having Featherweight early on will help you win streak, or Exiles will increase how tanky your board is late game. Definitely be willing to try these augments out if the situation makes sense for them. That's going to be it for today's video, folks. Keep in mind that as we've mentioned multiple times, augments are entirely situational. Sometimes it's not the correct choice to go with the best augment if another fits in better with your board. That said, Windfall's busted and should just always be taken. Jokes aside, let us know in the comment section below which prismatic augment is your favorite. Thank you for watching, and if you're enjoying our content, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for future Giant Slayer TFT videos.